Hello viewers, I am George from Ireland and today I'm going to give you tips on tourism in Ireland. So about 10 major points of advice, stroke information. Well, number one is blindingly obvious. Ireland is not a very large country. It's only about 500 kilometers north to south and about 300 east to west. Well, actually, I exaggerate a little. So a fortnight should be adequate, unless of course you wish to do things very thoroughly. And the good point is you can see more or less everything in Ireland. It's impossible to drive, let's say, more than 8 hours in Ireland. You know, you just go from one end of the island to the other, unless of course you want to drive round and round in circles. Number two is, well, what the fabulous sites are. This list is necessarily edited and somewhat arbitrary. Well, in Dublin, there's Dublin Castle, of course, which dates back to, I think the 12th century in parts of it, and it's incredibly historic. St James's Gate Brewery, where Guinness is made, that's one of the few things in Dublin I've never been into. You get a free pint with part of that. The National Gallery, and there's several other minor art galleries, and the National Museum, which is right beside Leinster House. Leinster House is where the Oireachtas is, as in Parliament, both the Senate and Dáil Éireann. Writers' Museum, not everyone's bag, that's at the top of O'Connell Street. Madame Two Swords is a very small one of those in Dublin. The cathedrals, the Catholic one, the pro-cathedral, is actually very modest and small because the Catholic majority, we didn't have much money until the 19th century. There's Christchurch and St Patrick's, both Church of Ireland, brackets, Protestant cathedrals. Yes, bizarrely, two cathedrals of the same denomination on the same street. Temple Bar area, which has got lots of the most fabulous pubs, and it's a pedestrian area right in the centre. Trinity College Dublin, you can see the Book of Kells and all sorts of things like that, and there are loads of pubs with fantastic musical evenings, not just in the Temple Bar. Maybe the very city centre is a bit too touristy and pricey. Grafton Street, for instance, which is pedestrians only. Kilmainham Jail, again very historic, perhaps a little bit lugubrious. Could go on, but going into the courts even, seeing a court case live at the forecourts, and there are many lovely parks. In Belfast, City Hall you can go into, cathedrals of both denominations, a few museums, the Botanic Garden for instance, the Titanic Quarter. The Giant's Causeway is not such a long drive from Belfast, it's on the north coast. I was underwhelmed by it actually. It's just this balsamic rock formation from volcanic activity billions of years ago. You should find out the legend about it. Of course, there's the visitor centre. Carrick-a-Reid Island I found a little unimpressive again. The North Antrim coast has got outstanding natural beauty. Then let me see, in Derry you can go to Apprentice Boys Hall and walk the walls of Derry and things like that and see Free Derry Corner. Two cathedrals obviously. There's a museum. Anyway, Ireland's got loads to offer. There are lots of small towns, and there's beautiful countryside with hills and lakes and everything else you could want. But I'll go for named sites. All right, in County Clare there's the Cliffs of Moher, they're the highest cliffs before the sea in Europe. And is it 500 metres tall they are? They're often part of the establishing shots for films of Ireland. Cork, where I'm from, well, in Cork City there's a prison museum, there's that Crawford Gallery, the English Market. Don't really know what's English about it. It's selling very fresh food. There are plenty of gorgeous streets. Things are painted multicoloured. I don't mean one building is painted several colours, but usually adjacent buildings are painted in different bright colours. Blarney Castle is just outside Cork. You should find out the story about kissing the Blarney Stone, as in the gift of garrulity, being able to talk drivel to waste people's time or just pass the time with pleasantries. Very close to Cork is Kinsale. It's a delightful little town known for its gastronomy. There's a fort there where a very significant battle was fought. I think it's Christmas Eve, 1601. The Rock of Cashel in Tipperary is again a very historic site, so that's well worth visiting, and it commands a view over the plains there. Solihull Beg, not that far away, is a significant site in Irish history where the 1919 to 21 conflict began. A rather inglorious chapter when two policemen escorting some gel ignite to a quarry were shot dead. But there we are. Kilkenny Castle, obviously, in the city of Kilkenny, in the county of Kilkenny, is well worth a visit. Yeah, it's a lovely little town and often overlooked, Kilkenny. Strictly speaking, it's a city because it's got a cathedral. There are loads of stately homes around Powers Court, which is in Wicklow, or is it Bantry House in West Cork? I can't name them all. And there's a very well preserved castle, Bunratty Castle, which I think is in Clare. There are lots of activities to do on Ireland. If you want to play golf, you could play golf till the crack of doom. A rash of golf courses broken out across the backside of Ireland since we underwent embourgeoisement in the 90s. Many of them really are beside the sea, which I think golf courses are supposed to be. Not my bag, actually. You can go riding, sailing, windsurfing, surfing, especially on the Atlantic coast, cycling, hill walking. There are sandy beaches to go to, and it is reasonably warm in the summer. Okay, number 3 about Ireland is there's very good public transport in Dublin and Belfast. Dublin's got the DART, Dublin Area Rapid Transit. The thing is, it mainly goes up and down the coast. There are buses all over the place. There's the Lewis, which is a tram in Dublin, it means speed in Irish. So you really don't need a car. Belfast it's got a railway, obviously, not just a main station. It's got about 10 minor stations. So apart from buses, you can get around very easily like that. Taxes are not cheap in Ireland, unfortunately. And now, if we're going from one big town to another, let's say like Derry to Limerick or something, you can do that by bus, but usually not direct. So if you're going to go around the countryside, you need a car. Got to remember the population of Dublin's over 1 million, Greater Belfast about 500,000, and so no other cities are that big. Even Cork's only got about 150,000 people. So yeah, that's why you need to hire a car. Another thing about Ireland, it's superb in many ways, and therefore it's not cheap. This is a Western European destination, and it's fairly expensive even for Western Europe. I'm not talking eye-wateringly costly like Switzerland. Of course, most of Ireland uses euros. Northern Ireland still uses the pounds sterling as its legal tender. On the border they sometimes accept them. I remember in a cafe in Derry saying, okay, we will accept the other currency, but we charge you on it right enough, as the woman said. You can keep costs down by camping, for instance. There are loads of campsites. Buying your own food, cooking your own food, staying in youth hostels. Haven't done that for quite a few years. Curiously, last time I was in Dublin, I was the only Irish person there, even the staff from other countries. Number 5. Well, they're fantastic organised tours you can do, bus tours, you can do more high-end ones. Things that appeal to people on a budget, especially younger tourists, are Paddywagon tours. So they take you around in a minibus, do the various tours of Ireland you can do, all around in a circle. Now, it's perhaps slightly twee, a bit of a biscuit tin image of Ireland. So some people would think the Paddywackery is over the top and faintly demeaning, with all sorts of jokes about us being bibulous. Staying in a youth hostel called Paddy's Palace in Dublin. So expect all the trite stereotypes to be brought out about leprechauns and, wearing orange beards and things. I've not been on that sort of tour myself, but I think if you're limited for time and you want a light-hearted view of Ireland and just a taster, that might be a good one. Right, number 6, July and August is manic. Obviously it's more expensive, it's a high season, and it's difficult to find a hotel room for love and money. Queues are longer. So going the shoulder season is a bit better. Remember, Ireland, because it's the Emerald Isle, it's incredibly rainy, or rather that's the other way around, cause and effect. So bring a waterproof coat, even in July and August. Other times of the year it'll rain a lot. There's a spike in tourist numbers around Christmas, and even more so around St. Patrick's Day, 17th of March. Paddy's Day in Ireland is not as extravagant as in the US. There are lots of festivals to see. Lisdoonvarna, there's a marriage festival in August. There's a film which features it starring Pierce Brosnan and Julianne Moore. Kilkenny's got a comedy festival early in the year. There's a West Belfast festival of music and drama mainly, which is in August or is it September. There's marching season in Northern Ireland generally, around the 12th of July. There's some marches even after that. Some people don't like it, it's a bit controversial, don't have the time to go into the tendentious nature of it. But there are very few disturbances around that these days. All sorts of horse races at Galway in August, for example, Leopardstown. There's the Irish Grand National at the Curragh. So that's another fantastic thing about Ireland. The Dublin Horse Show in August, which is not just about horses, show jumping in a stadium, It's just generally an agricultural show. So there's so many absolutely fabulous things to see. Anyway, I'm going to have to end it now because can't go on forever. This is too much of a video.